My name's Paul, welcome to Paul Perambulates. In this episode, I'm in South Wales, in the central Bannau Brycheiniog, walking the eastern part of the Fforest Fawr massif. My start point is the Pont ar Daff car park on the A470. Postcode LD3 8NL. Grid reference SN 9872 1992. What three words? Strumming, represent, coast. I walk up the A470 as far as Story Arms, then leave the road and head straight for the summit of Fan Fawr. I visit the trig point at the other end of the summit plateau, then drop into the Ystrad Reservoir Valley. I round the end of the valley and climb up onto Fan Fawr. From there, I drop down onto the Sarn Helen Roman road and follow that northward to Fan Frynych, climbing it and camping overnight on the top. On day 2, I head southwards. That takes me via Craig Cerrig Gleisiad, then crossing lots of lovely mountain streams and dropping gently back down to Story Arms, and from there down the road to the car park. Total distance 19.6 kilometres. Total height gain 838 metres. Total walking time 6 hours and 20 minutes. Pont ar Daff car park, just off the A470. National Trust owned and operated. Free for members, bring your card. $7.50 a day for non-members. No overnight camping, but you can leave your car empty, and they have only charged me for one day. Hundreds of spaces, brilliant facilities, picnic tables, toilets, everything you want. It's a cold Thursday in mid-March, term time. It's nowhere near full, but still quite a few cars here, possibly because this is the best place to set off to go up Pen Fan from this side. From the car park, which I can't now see, I've come up the A470 to Story Arms, a very well known outdoor centre, just up the A470, cross the road, and the path up to Fan Fawr starts there. You can see where I've walked up, and it's a very well defined path, sloping gently because it cuts across the hillside, which is quite nice. First stream crossing, pretty simple. The path gets more indistinct as it keeps going, sloping gently up and alongside the hill. Temptation is always to go up. We are climbing a mountain after all. And you can't see the top of it until you get to the end here. So you've got to trust your compass. And then when you do come round the end, suddenly there it is. Impressive from a distance, a little bit intimidating close up. It's definitely getting very steep now. I'm on the lower slopes, having to use my hands in places, so I've got my gloves off, and you can probably tell by my breathing as well. So this bit is quite hard work. I'm definitely going the right way though. Path keeps winding on, around and up. I've missed my path, so I'm basically just scrambling up the side, and on the way I found my first bit of unmelted snow in a little hollow here. And here we are. As ever, reaching the top, suddenly we can see for miles. Looking away to the east, Corndee, which from this angle hides Penavan directly behind it. Top of Fan Fawr, 734 metres. Away at the other end of the summit plateau, my next destination. Nice and easy along the top here, and we're at the trig point. So this trig point, not at the top of Fan Fawr, at the other end of its summit plateau. That's not massively unusual. They don't necessarily have to be at the top, just got to be visible from other trig points. Dropping into the valley, there's a nice distinct path around the end of it. At the bottom of the valley we have Nant Mawr, which runs down quite a steep gully. So to get over it, the path down is a steepish climb down, and then a steepish climb up again on the other side. I'm looking right down the valley now, in the bottom of which sits the Stradfelter Reservoir. Looking along the Fan Fawr Ridge. And then up around the top end of the valley, I can see my path, nice and clear. Another river crossing, Nanty Gwer. Again, nice and easy. Shallow, loads of boulders. Shouldn't have to get your feet wet. Nice spot to layer up and have a bit of lunch. Sun's come out now, so I've decided to be bold, put the hat and shades on. Don't know how long that will last though. The last river crossing around the end of the valley is Nant y Gazeg, which looks impossible until you get to that bit. Beautiful waterfall. And then I'll be able to cross just above that. In fact, almost directly above it. Nice easy crossing. I always go on about how I love a stream. This one in particular is spectacular though. I'm up on the Fan Fawr ridge now. Was quite hard work to get up here, but once you're up on here, nice easy walking. Gentle incline as we head towards the top of it. Once again I can see the Cambrians up in the north. Now I can see new stuff to the west. I'm on the Fforest Fawr massive. In the distance there, the Black Mountain with Bannau Brycheiniog, the highest point. I'm on Fan Fawr now, 632 metres. There's nothing here to mark it, unless you count this little pile of stones here, which I guess is a sort of cairn, but it's pretty small. But what do you say, there's nothing else. To the west, Mynyddig D, the Black Mountain. To the southwest, a strip of silver sunlight reflecting off the Bristol Channel. To the east, the direction I've come from, Fan Fawr in the foreground now. Behind it, Penavan just poking out from behind Corn D. Dropping down off the western side of Fan Fawr, we've come to this track with a nice little ford there. I'm now walking along the Sarn Helen Roman road, named after St. Helen of Carnarvon, who in the 4th century reputedly ordered lots of roads to be built in Wales. There are 2 Sarn Helens, although some people would argue they're all part of the same long one. One goes from Aberconwy right up in North Wales down to Carmarthen in the southwest, but that's not this one. This one goes from the Roman settlement of Neath or Needham up through the Brecon Beacons to the Roman fort of Eger or Secusium near Brecon. And although it's named after a Celtic saint, quite clearly is a Roman road. Quite funny to think of thousands of men in sandals marching along right where I am now. Would have been drawn from all over the Roman Empire and would have been wondering exactly what they got themselves into marching through the beacons. Roman roads have a reputation for straightness, but it doesn't extend to this one. This one wiggles around a bit. Underfoot, it's mainly largish stones, so it's quite firm to walk, but you do have to keep your eyes on your feet. It has some quite fetching bits along the way, with waterfalls and fords. I've just come around the corner to this absolutely stunning view. On the left is Fan Frynych, which I'm going to climb shortly. On the right, the western side of Craig Cerrig Gleisiad. There's a stream starting about 200 metres from where I'm planning to camp, but some of the sources of some of the streams I saw coming down off Fan Fawr were looking a bit dry, so I don't want to take the chance of getting up there and not being able to get any water. So I'm going to pick it up down here and I'm going to have to carry it up Fan Frynych, which is behind me. We're at the sort of altitude now where life is pretty difficult for trees. Struggling up the last bit of Frynych now as the sun nears the horizon with this heavy bag of water, and then over the horizon comes a familiar sight, Corndee and Pennyvan. So that tells me, if I'm looking across at them, I'm nearly there. I can see a cairn up on the top as well, so not far to go. Now finally here we are at the trig point. The moon coming up behind it. Fan Frynych, 629 metres. No pictures of my camp tonight. Basically, I didn't give myself enough time. I arrived here just as the sun was going down. Obviously, had to capture some pictures of that. And then it was a frantic rush to get the tent up and the food on and everything sorted as the light faded. And I'm expecting a minimum temperature of -3 tonight. So I've got in my sleeping bag absolutely as quickly as I could. So I'm nice and toasty and warm. I'm not going to have a problem. And I'll take some pictures of camp in the morning. Sweet dreams. I'm up and about on an extremely still and very cold morning here in the Beacons, and pretty disappointed to see it's quite cloudy around the horizons. That possibly means no sunrise. We'll have to see what happens. This is how it's looking over to the east, where sunrise should happen. Pennyvan and Corndee standing there. Little bit of red sky, but I think we're going to be disappointed. Nice purple bit of sky to the north, interesting. And one of the reasons I did this trip on this day is I was hoping to see a blood moon setting over the Black Mountain, which we can see there. Unfortunately, again, it's cloudy and I'm not going to see it. That's really disappointing. If you want to know what a blood moon is, Google it. Looking south, Fan Fawr, Fan Fawr, two places where I was yesterday. It certainly was a tad chilly here last night. I'm back up at the trig point Van Frynych, 629 metres, and the really striking thing about it is how incredibly still it is. At this sort of altitude there would normally be some air moving around, and usually quite a lot. It is completely still this morning. It's quite eerie in a way. It's sunrise right about now, and you'd expect some red sky, but this red sky is in the west, and you wouldn't expect that. And that is light reflected off the blood moon I was talking about earlier. Over to the east, the normal red sky that you would expect every morning when it isn't totally clouded over. Something that has really caught my eye up here is this tree, some kind of fir, spruce or larch. What is particularly special about it is it's the only one. I can see a lot of mountain from here, but I can see not one other tree. This tree is as hard as hell. You have to respect that. In fact, there are a number of people I know that I don't respect as much as I do this tree. Just to emphasise how cold it was, bag of water I picked up yesterday, sitting outside the tent, frozen partially. Back in the tent and back in the sleeping bag again to warm up. Breakfast is on the way, and I got coffee. Cheers. I've given it a couple of hours back in the sleeping bag, warming up, and come out of the tent again. The sun's got above that cloud in the east, and we've got some absolutely to die for mountain weather this morning. It's still quite still, sun's shining, blue skies, absolutely fantastic. This is some scene now. Totally still, sun up, blue sky, Jacob's Ladders over Corndee and Pennyvan, low-lying mists in the valley to the east. Looking west, the Black Mountain, coming round to Fforest Fawr. Morning sunlight catching the mountains beautifully, birds singing. Just goes to show you might not get the beautiful pictures you expect, but you often get some beautiful pictures that you don't expect. Frozen pond just off the summit, sunlight glinting off it. In fact, it is extremely frozen. I'm not going to be daft enough to try and walk on it, but it would take my weight to break it, I think. Here we go with the time-honoured test. very frozen. About to chuck out my excess water here, making a lovely sound, all those ice cubes in there. I'm resisting the temptation to have an iced coffee. Shake out the very last bits. All packed up now, as ever. No trace left. No one could tell that anyone had ever been here, and that's as it should be. This morning's nav, nice and simple, following the beacon's way and basically handrailing the edge here. Next stop, Craig Cerrig Gleisiad. Just coming up on a cairn on Craig Cerrig Gleisiad. Not sure if it's the top. I'll know when I get to it. Just now, as always, the view opens up the other side. Turns out it is the top. So Craig Cerrig Gleisiad, 629 metres. Exactly the same height as Fan Frynych, which is over the way behind me now. Out on the promontory off Craig Cerrig Gleisiad now. Fabulous view looking down the Taff Valley, carved by glaciers in the last ice age 18,000 years ago. Can certainly tell I've lost some height now. Corndee and Pennyvan looming above me now. First of a number of stream crossings along this path, along the edge, and as I look along I can see the path skirting the edge all the way along. I guess you could say there's a bit of exposure here. It falls away extremely steeply on the left. I don't think it's going to bother me, but if you worry about those sort of things, you might want to think about it. Maybe go up over the top way. You'll notice I'm not filming as I walk along. Another beautiful stream crossing. This one comes down through a deep cut in the edge of the crag, and it heads on down to a waterfall, which unfortunately we can't see from above. Just had to scramble round that edge there over a very steep drop. This can be a bit scary along here. If you're not comfortable with heights, I would recommend going up over the top. Another deep gully, another stream crossing. Small but beautiful waterfall here. Possibly on down to a larger waterfall further down. Can't see from here. And another mini waterfall. Really not much water going over it. Justifying my decision to pick up water early and low down last night, I think. I wonder if I should stop filming these now, because they might be starting to get a little bit boring. No, actually that is heresy. I love that sound. Beautiful little mountain stream like this, never boring. Lots of them, even better. I think this is the daddy of the streams that cut down through the edge here. Series of little waterfalls. Nice and easy to cross, but very impressive. Running down onto a substantial sandstone shelf there, and then falling off the edge. I imagine there's quite a big waterfall there. I've dropped down a lot now. I'm not that far from Story Arms. So a lower down perspective on one of these mountain streams. The last part of the path gently lowers you down into the valley, heading straight for Story Arms, and then from there down the road and back to the car park. Fforest Fawr in the Bannau Brycheiniog, home to a lot of interesting peaks. Fan Fawr, Fan Frynych, Craig Cerrig Gleisiad. I've climbed all of them, you don't need to, you can mix and match to suit you. Nice, easy, secure parking off the A470, and then most people are going up the other side to Van. If you come this side, what you will get is a lot of solitude. I saw one person yesterday on the summit of Fan Fawr. I've seen a few more this morning, especially coming along this path along Craig Cerrig Gleisiad, but nowhere near as crowded as Van. Difficulty wise, I'm going to give it a 6. I might have gone for a 7. I'm in a good state of fitness at the moment. I also have to consider that I've come in some very cold early spring weather. Whichever bits of it you choose to do, come and have a go at it. I hope you have a great time. All maps and 3D fly-throughs provided by kind permission of Ordnance Survey through their excellent OS Online application. Big thanks also for all music used in this video to mixkit.co and upbeat.io. Specific song and artist credits can be found in the comments. These videos are designed to show you around the routes I walk in case you're considering doing them yourself. They are not designed to be any kind of hill walking training or guidance. If you need hill walking skills, obtain them in person from a reputable, qualified provider. Please don't attempt these walks without appropriate levels of fitness and equipment. If you don't have the required levels of knowledge and experience, only undertake them accompanied by somebody who does. You can find out more about me and my background and experience at my website paulperambulates.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Paul Perambulates. If you did, please subscribe and share.